Well, here we are for another excellent and exciting Scriptural Word study session. In this Scriptural Word study, we together will be discussing the incredible differences between the replacement Bible word called holy as compared to the original and intended Scriptural word known as set apart. Much of this Scriptural Word study originates from a book entitled Come Out Over My People by Dr. C.J. Coster. You may ask, why is it so important to do scriptural word studies? Well, it is because what we read today in modern English Bible translations has been changed, and in some cases very subtly, but in this case, massive. How much pain has been caused in this life, and to the lives of so many in the past, due to misguided people who consciously changed the original scriptures to corrupt the original intention of the word, to eliminate the way of Yahuwah. As an example, in today's world, can you imagine if the authors of the U.S. Constitution were alive today and they read the book by Obama entitled The Audacity of Hope, and his explanation how the Constitution is not a static but rather a living document, and must be read in the context of an ever-changing world? The original meaning and intent of the U.S. Constitution was to create a more perfect union, to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for common defense to promote the general welfare, and to secure the blessing of freedom and posterity. These objectives were to be static objectives for this nation regardless of an ever-changing world. So no one should be confused why there is massive chaos in the U.S. today. Because when the people of a nation allow their government to change the original meaning and thus the original intention of the words of their Constitution, all hell indeed will break loose. The U.S. Constitution was originally intended to be the foundation of basic truths and principles for governing themselves in their own nation, let alone the world. Just as the Scriptures were written for us to be the basic foundation of truths and principles to govern ourselves in this evil and corrupt world. Does this ongoing story sound familiar, though? Many today who desire to remain in the land of confusion say the Scriptures are not relevant for us today because of an ever-changing world. Nothing new under the sun here. But scriptural truth is truth. It's static. It stands on its own forever. But at times we fall for the charlatans and their highly skilled oratory and crafty written messages that truth must evolve because of an ever-changing world. But what does the original word share? The Almighty Yahuwah is well aware of the ever-changing world, like the misguided worldly politicians keep trying to keep up with. But this is not the path we are to be on. We are to be set apart from this world because the Almighty Yahuwah and His thoughts are not the thoughts of the world. His ways are not the ways of the world. His ways are higher and more noble and truthful than the ways of the world, as we read in the book of Yeshayahu chapter 55, verses 8 through 9. So, as we can see, the very word focuses on the Almighty Yahuwah and His way, which produces and secures peace and prosperity, and as such, why we need to be set apart from this world. In the book of Jacob or James, chapter 4, verse 4, it states clearly that we are not to be friends with the world, as this will put us in direct conflict with the Almighty One. So, on to the Scriptural Word study. In my youth, the world and its world religions taught me all about the word holy. But I was never taught the original scriptural word set apart. Why? The Hebrew words Qodesh and the equivalent Greek word hagios, together with their derivatives, have been translated with one of three words or derivatives, in our older scriptural English versions, namely holy, hallowed, or sanctified. Another word is also used in modern versions, and generally in ecclesiastical literature, namely sacred. Most of us have the idea that this word has the meaning of piety, or being pious, or to be devout. However, this conception is refuted when we read in the book of Yeshayahu or Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 17, of the idolatrous people who sanctify or kadosh, set apart themselves and purify themselves to go to the gardens after an idol in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination and the mouse. This refutation of the incorrect idea that holy means to be pious is further confirmed by the shocking discovery that one of the Hebrew words for a harlot or hooer is kadesha, a derivative of kadash. Likewise, a male prostitute or sodomite is called a kadash or kadesh in Hebrew. This then causes us to seek for the real meaning of the word kodesh, its verb being kadesh, and its Greek equivalent, hagios. The Interpreter's Dictionary of the Bible, Volume 2, page 817, summarizes what most authorities say about kodesh and hagios. Quote, the meaning of separation is paramount. The more elemental meaning seems to lie with separation. End of quote. The same dictionary in Volume 4, page 210 says, quote, the basic sense of the Hebrew word kadash, as of its Greek equivalent in the Bible hagios, seems to be separateness. Likewise, Vine's expository dictionary of New Testament words repeatedly emphasizes the fact of the fundamental meaning of the word to be, separation. See under holiness and sanctification. With the discovery of the true meaning of this word, namely separate and separation, we can now understand why kodesh is used in a positive sense, a good sense, and that it can equally be used in a negative or bad and evil sense. So with this further clarity, someone is or something is separated unto Yahuwah, or he or she is separated unto evil. Thus the word kodesh applies to both. Why then, if the Hebrew word kodesh as well as the Greek word hagios both mean separation, why has the word holy been used instead? Is it possible that the father of all lies, the great deceiver, had cunningly proceeded with his master plan of bringing idolatrous worship into true worship? Has the mystery man behind mystery of lawlessness and mystery Babylon been active again? Indeed, we do find evidence of his veiled, his hidden, and his mysterious work. It would be a good time now to stop this video and read the following scriptural verses before proceeding. In the Oxford English Dictionary, Volume 5, page 345, under the word holy, we read, quote, the primitive pre-Christian meaning is uncertain. Its earlier application to heathen deities is found in Old Norse. End of quote. Likewise, we read in the Big Netherlands Woordenboek der Nederlandsche Taal, Volume 6, page 455, and I translate, quote, an explanation of the original meaning that makes it clear as to how this adjective has obtained the meaning of the Latin sanctus has not yet been given. End of quote. But many have discovered the origin of the word holy. In G. Job's Dictionary of Mythology, Folklore, and Symbols, page 781, we read, quote, holy. In practicality, all languages, the word for holy has been derived from the divinely honored Son. End of quote. Further confirmation of this shocking truth is found in Forlong's Encyclopedia of Religions, as follows, quote, Holi, the great Hindu spring festival, held in honor of Krishna as the spring sun god. A personified woman called Holi. Holi had tried to poison the babe Krishna, end of quote. Further revealing evidence is even more shocking. In the Strong's Concordance, in the Greek lexicon number 1506, we found the following, quote, Hail, the sun's ray, end of quote. This is pronounced Hele. This form is almost identical to the German and Dutch equivalent of the English holy. The meaning of halo, the ring on top of a saint's head, now becomes very clear to all of us who want to be set apart from this world and its world religions. And this was further confirmed in J.C. Cooper, an illustrated encyclopedia of traditional symbols on page 112, quote, nimbus, halo, or aureole, originally indicative of solar power and the sun's disk, hence an attribute of sun gods, end of quote. The truth of this most disturbing fact stuns most people when they first learn about this shocking truth. Gradually, we all will come to understand the great deceiver will not make the mistake of diverting the worship towards himself. By just diverting it to the innocent sun, Satan would succeed in his master plan by firstly veiling and then bringing into the temple the wicked abomination, as the Almighty Yahuwah had called this sun-mixed worship, as we read in the following scriptural verse. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8, verses 13 through 16, it highlights the abominations and process of sun worship, which has usurped the name which is above all names, changed times with a calendar that hangs on a wall, and eliminated the principles and foundations of the way of Yahuwah, which were intended on how we were to govern ourselves in this ever-changing world. Thankfully, the awareness is now increasing that the well-known false pictures and false names of our Messiah, of Mary, and of a great number of prophets were falsely adorned with a sun disk or nimbus or halo or sun rays, complements of world religions all through time. This is just another huge reason why we must be set apart from this world and its world religions. We are to have the set apart spirit, not the holy nimbus and or sun ray spirit. With the word holy being incorrectly applied to the set apart spirit of Yahuwah, called in the Hebraic language Ruach Ha Qodesh, the enormous challenge is now before us all. So can we continue to use the word holy, let alone the words Holy Spirit? Ruach Ha Qodesh simply means, quote, the spirit of separation, end of quote. Separation from what, might you ask? From the world, of course, and its world religions, and to become set apart in the way of Yahuwah, to not accept how the world and its world religions have changed the times and laws of Yahuwah, let alone the name which is above all names. Can the world and its evil world religions continue paying homage to the sun and the rest of the planets through the weekly naming of the world's days? This is non-scriptural. And what about the world's named months, accompanied by its world religious traditions and its own so-called brand of holy days that have nothing to do with the set-apart feasts and or moedim of the Almighty Yahuwah, whose name is set apart? Have we not been warned in the book of Yirmiyahu, chapter 10, verse 2, quote, do not learn the way of the Gentiles? Do not be awed at the signs of heaven, for the Gentiles are awed at them, end of quote. Yahuwah does not name his days and her months with the pantheon of deities created by Gentiles after the planets. Yahuwah has us only number our days and months. The sun, moon with the stars is his calendar that hangs in the heavens, in which the world and world religions have replaced with a pagan calendar that hangs on a wall. Can we continue to ignore the disastrous result of Israel's disobedience to the law, which caused the Almighty Yahuwah to give them up, as it states in the book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 42, where it states clearly, quote, turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, end of quote. We who intend to be set apart from this world are to have entered into the renewed covenant, having the law of Yahuwah written into our hearts, as it reads in the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, verse 10, and as well chapter 10, verse 16. Can we delight in his law, his words, rather than the world with its world traditions and holy days? Do we accept his warning which comes to us in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verses 19? Think about it, folks. The entire world and all of the world religious organizations and institutions have agreed to name their days and their months after the host of heaven. Set-apart people do not do this. If it has been revealed to us, having been led by the Spirit of truth, that the word holy has been derived from the divinely honored Son, we surely must ignore it. In direct contrast to this Son origin of the word holy, the original Hebrew word Qodesh and the Greek word Hagios has nothing to do with the sun or sun rays at all, let alone anything to do with what has been handed down to us on the pagan Gregorian calendar that hangs on a wall. So, the Spirit of truth puts the following challenge before us all. If we love him who first loved us, we will worship him in spirit and in truth. If we love the Spirit of Yahuwah, we will call on him, the spirit of separation, and not the Holy Spirit of the Son. The former is the truth. The latter is a lie if it is meant to be a translation of Ruach Ha Qodesh. If the term, quote, Holy Spirit of the Son, end of quote, is devoid of all scriptural truth, how much more is the term, quote, Spirit of the divinely honored Son, end of quote, or, quote, the Spirit that solarizes, end of quote, or, finally, the solarized Spirit. Yirmiyahu let us know, and many other scriptural prophets, that the world and its holy world religions would ensure everyone could possibly inherit the falsehood and futility of accepting things that were indeed not set apart in the way of Yahuwah. But thankfully, we have a love of the truth, which demands that each and every one of us, with these scriptural word studies, helps each other to rightly handle the word of truth. Because, as we all know, words do mean things, and as such, we guard and cherish the original context and intention of the good news message. Those that chase and hold on to things that are holy and or are considered holy to this world enter the wide gate, which is broad that leads to destruction, while those that are set apart from the world enter the gate that is narrow, which is hard-pressed, but leads to life. The world and its holy world religious systems are now incorporated into the world's financial, political, and calendar processes. And they do claim that they are holy indeed. But as we have seen, they are not set apart in the way of Yahuwah. The Father is set apart, his name is set apart, and his way is set apart from this world. Truth is truth. It stands on its own accord. Truth is still truth even if no one believes it, because a lie is a lie even if everyone believes it. And truth is still truth no matter what someone says, because truth stands on its own. Remember, people that sell change in an ever-changing world do so because they attempt to twist the truth, and or they didn't listen to the truth in the first place, and they are now backpedaling to cover up the mess they and or others made due to changing the original context of what words were originally meant to mean. But don't take my word for it. Search the Scriptures for yourself and allow the Word to lead you into all truth. We hope and pray that this particular Scriptural Word study has provided value to you and your loved ones. Thank you for the blessing and privilege in sharing in the name which is above all names. All the best.